Lying in total darkness under 12,000 feet of the Atlantic Ocean, this is what remains of the RMS Titanic. For over a century, the popular narrative framed this ship as a flawless feat of engineering, struck down by a rogue, unpredictable force of nature. Modern forensic science reveals the sinking was a mathematical inevitability, the direct result of a chain of preventable corporate compromises. The ambition of the project was staggering. Some 15,000 workers built this 46,000-ton Leviathan. Adjusted for inflation, the project cost roughly $400 million today. The White Star Line's managing director, J. Bruce Ismay, envisioned a floating palace. He pushed for heated swimming pools, Turkish baths, and massive staircases, prioritizing luxury above all else. By demanding the most beautiful ship in history, its creators systematically stripped away the engineering safeguards needed to keep it afloat. The compromises began in the shipyard. To speed up manual construction on the curved sections of the bow, builders opted for wrought iron rivets instead of standard, much stronger steel. This diagram shows a microscopic cross-section of one of those iron rivets, recovered from the seafloor. Forensic metallurgists found high concentrations of slag, impurities that made the iron brittle in freezing temperatures. Under perpendicular pressure, these heads snap right off. Look at this forward deck plan. Deep inside the hull were watertight compartments separated by walls called bulkheads. Ismay ordered the height of these bulkheads lowered, from 4 meters to just 3, simply so they wouldn't intrude on the grand first-class spaces above. Because they didn't reach the ceiling, these lowered bulkheads created a spillover effect. Once water filled one compartment, it simply poured over the top into the next, dragging the bow further under. To keep the upper decks looking clean and uncluttered, the number of lifeboats was cut from the designed 48 down to 16. That was barely enough to carry half the people on board. Long before the ship encountered a single iceberg, its survival margins were negotiated away to meet aesthetic demands. On the night of April 14, 1912, the Atlantic was unusually still. The flat ocean and moonless sky removed the white water breaking at the base of icebergs that lookouts rely on to spot danger. Up in the crow's nest, the lookouts were forced to rely purely on their naked eyesight. A last-minute crew reshuffle had resulted in an officer accidentally taking the key to the binocular locker with him when he left the ship. The crew was not flying blind. Throughout the day, the radio room received 6 distinct messages from surrounding ships, warning of heavy ice fields directly in their path. Captain Edward John Smith read those warnings. Yet, facing pressure from his employers to complete the maiden voyage in record time, he maintained a speed of 21.5 knots, roughly 40 kilometers per hour, straight into the dark. At 11:40 p.m., the ship grazed an iceberg. The impact lasted just 10 seconds, but the pressure along the hull was enough to pop those brittle iron rivets like a zipper, creating a 300-foot series of punctures. This impact with the iceberg forced every boardroom compromise to its physical breaking point. Deep inside the ship, senior wireless operator Jack Phillips frantically fired off distress signals, both the traditional CQD and the newly adopted SOS, hoping to reach any vessel in range. The SS Californian was sitting idle just 37 kilometers away, but earlier that night, Phillips snapped at the Californian's radio operator to stop sending ice warnings. The operator shut down his radio and went to sleep. This diagram reveals the ship's flooding logic. The hull was designed to stay afloat with a maximum of 4 forward compartments flooded. The iceberg's graze had breached 6, dragging the vessel past the point of no return. In less than 3 hours, the structure broke in two and plunged to the ocean floor. The passengers left behind were cast into water that was -2 degrees Celsius, where hypothermia kills in minutes. Over 1,500 people died that night. The majority perished because the ship was mathematically unequipped with enough lifeboats to save them. The disaster forced the creation of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, mandating strict lifeboat capacities for all passengers, and established the International Ice Patrol to strictly monitor Atlantic shipping lanes. The loss of the Titanic demonstrates that even the most celebrated engineering remains subservient to the basic requirements of safety and survival.